Hello, I'm FGXToyCat, and one of the videos you've probably seen on every YouTuber's channel at some point during their career is a Q&A. This is where you get subscribers to ask the questions and then you just answer them. It's a very easy and, let's be honest, slightly lazy form of content, and that's why I have my whole own series called Q&A Saturday, where I do it pretty much every single week. But we've been trying to evolve the Q&A. That's why we took the A out of Q&A and made it Q&A Saturday. That's why we took the Q out of and Saturday, and that's why today, by releasing this on a purely random date in the middle of July, we have reached the peak version of this Q&A Saturday format, because this is just going to be and. So I hope you do all enjoy the series where I take questions, I ask my own questions in response, and then I don't really answer those questions anyway, because we're going to move it straight into the first question, which comes in from Flower, who says, what seed did you use for your world? And you know, the beautiful thing about seeds is that they are the start of something that can be great. The start of this 7 years of progress really did start with a seed, and I really think it is beautiful the fact that any world seed is named that way, because it is a small seed that grows into this giant thing. This series started as a small seed of just answering some questions, then we started showing the questions, then we started adding in things here and there, and that's how and came about. And also, if you think about it, that's how humans work. You start as a small seed and you grow into something much bigger. Even by the end of this video, you'll be a more developed, better rounded person than at the start, or at least a different person, maybe not both of those things. But yeah, let's move into the second comment. By the way, these aren't from Q&As, these are just from random videos over the last month or so, because Twan says, why would you even play Minecraft on console in the first place? And I think it's really cool that being on the internet, being a YouTuber, whatever you want to call me, allows me to see people's first interaction with the world. Isn't it interesting how so many things that we assume everyone knows, so many things that within our community are so widely shared, are going to be discovered for the first time every single day by so many thousands or tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of people. There must be so many people who watch my videos who are just discovering that Minecraft's on console. There are so many people in the real world who are just discovering garlic mayo for the first time, and my god, I'm excited for that revelation. It's kind of cool because you can always see things as like the negative, positive. You can see things as like, oh yeah, people are trying to do that fanboy game where like, oh, I like a thing and my thing isn't the same as your thing. But isn't it also cool from the other perspective of that, because so many people are learning that there are other things besides their thing and they want to attack those things, but there are also people who are finding out things that you assume everyone knows so regularly. And you know, I'm just saying, the link between Minecraft on console and between garlic mayo is more than you might think. Also, quick little advertisement for garlic mayo. This video is sponsored by any mayonnaise that has any form of garlic flavoring. I had some yesterday, and I'm reminded of the fact that there are so many foods out there in the universe that are garlic flavored that we have to politely not eat, like while on a date or whatever, but like garlic is so good that it's worth putting in foods, even your mayos regardless. So yeah, garlic mayo, use code TOYCAT to get 50% off your next purchase. Most stores, they play a game where they say, what is code TOYCAT? You know, this is a supermarket, sir, you're going to have to pay the full amount, but it's a fun joke, it's all part of the promotion, you know, social media advertising and all that sort of stuff. So let's move into the next thing, which comes in from Hydrate Plays, who says beds. And you know what I was thinking about this morning? I was wondering what purpose Q&As actually really have in the YouTube environment, because, even though I do my own Q&A, I think it's a really valuable way to discuss some of the bigger questions that are asked about any big confusing subject. You know, starting in the Minecraft console world, it's a confusing subject for anyone who's just diving into it, wondering about updates. That's how the start of this series came about. But I was wondering, like, what is the purpose of these in general? You know, a lot of vloggers have Q&As as their off days. A lot of people like that have, like, again, it's their off content. It's their B content, not their A content in the content creator game, by the way, in case you're curious. That's a whole thing. There's content people like the most, and there's content that has to fill in the gaps, pay the bills or whatever. And yeah, although you can easily say, well, Q&As pay the bills, I was also thinking, but the thing is, Q&As don't ever attract new subscribers to a channel, right? If you watch a Q&A, it's because you like the person already, but it never attracts new people to the channel. So it kind of defeats some of the point of YouTube, which is the video site where you can find pretty much anything because of the way the homepage works or whatever, right? It's really interesting in that sense of like, the Q&A is just kind of a form of content that only appeals to existing subscribers, and therefore I think one of the reasons that it kind of dies off, because there was a big phase of like, oh yeah, every YouTuber does a Q&A and they title it something wildly different. Maybe this falls under that category, except I'm not answering questions, so it's not a Q&A. But you can see the point that like, yeah, a Q&A has this weird purpose that I think is gonna slowly vanish, because YouTubers, as any form of YouTuber, unless you directly hit the bell and unless YouTube delivers all of the notifications, which even then isn't guaranteed, you're basically not choosing what to watch, you're basically being showed what to watch. And in a way that's a good thing, because, you know, YouTube's algorithm will never recommend a Q&A because it's never going to do that great in the testing with strangers. But on the other hand, like, is that a good thing? Do you hate Q&As? You want that out there? Or is it kind of weird that the concept of a YouTuber is changing over time? It's not just about finding an audience then making videos for them. It's always about you have to find your own audience every single time. Is that good or bad? bad? I really don't know, but I consider it a lot. But yeah, let's move into the fourth question, which apparently comes in from Hydrate Plays, who says, beds, question mark. And you know what? Here's the thing. When is it polite to ask a question twice in a row? When is it polite to say, hey, I'm not sure there was necessarily the answer I was going for there? Because this is something that comes up all the time in real life. I don't know if this is just me or everyone else, but like I ask a question and someone gives me an answer that is so parallel to my question, but clearly doesn't get at the main point of it. It's like, so you clearly dodged my question and I'm expected not to ask it again. And it almost feels a bit rude to be like, hey, so you know that question I just had? Can you please answer that? And then when they dodge it the second time, you really can't go in for the third one. But it's this super strange thing, right? That people dodge questions all the time and it's just an okay part of conversation, but I don't think it should be. I think that dodging questions should full on be like, hey, no. Notice how I said a minute and a half ago, beds, and you didn't answer correctly, Toy Cat. That should be a thing you should be allowed to do. You're right, Hydrate Plays. But let's move into the next, question here, which is going to come in from Jamo N. And again, these questions are going to go downhill in the amount of question they are. I went for a whole month worth of comments to hand select the best, worst comments to respond to here, by the way. Because Jamo N says, anyone want to play some Minecraft together on Bedrock Edition? And his Xbox name is Flaxer. What a lovely Xbox name that doesn't match his YouTube name in the slightest. But here's the thing, right? Isn't it interesting how we all want to feel together in some way? No matter how much you like being an isolationist. I really am, like, there are so many downsides that come with human interaction, and, for the most part, I try to limit it. But there is a part of my brain, and there's part of everyone's brain, no matter how much of a hermit you are. Also, I said the word hermit, so now there's going to be some people being like, why don't you join an invite-only Java server, Mr. Bedrock player? But yeah, the fact that people kind of enjoy being together, one of the parts of this that I've never understood, like, I genuinely just don't enjoy this. Like, Minecraft is a game that when I play with friends, it's just like, what are we doing here together? A lot of multiplayer games, I think I've said this before, like, I don't want to play, Minecraft with a group. I'll play Minecraft, like, competitively against people. I find that fun, but Minecraft is a game, maybe this is like, for a lot of people, it's this big collectivized game that shows that, like, everyone can be together or whatever, but to some extent, Minecraft is the game that shows that you can do anything. No one can tell you what you can and cannot do. The only limit is your imagination, and yeah, we're going to reference this in every video for the next, like, 2 months. So get on board with that before we move into the next comment, which is, will you ever revisit your old series? I mean, doing literally a random thing for 99999 hours is great, but another top 5 or advice videos would be great. And this is a really good question, Samuel Keynes. Thank you for asking it. So let's move into the next one here, which comes in from Indigo Gollum Love, who says, what button on your controller do you have set to pick block? And I love this, discussion in the world, something you can discuss with almost any other human. We're talking about, like, so you need that human connection. One of the things that you can universally find common ground with someone, or at least interesting ground with someone, is their slight minor preferences on the same task they do that you do. If you have, both have Android phones, which launcher do you use? If you both, play Minecraft on a console using a controller, which button do you use for this rebindable thing that the game doesn't even suggest a button for? Which one are you going to use? I love the kind of fact that you can unite on any kind of minor difference in how you do something together, because, I mean, ultimately that's how humans are, right? Sometimes we need to feel like we're united, sometimes we need to feel like we're different. When we're in tribes, we need to be like, oh yeah, my tribe's people, they're the good group of people, and the people who are outside my tribe, they are monsters who want to rape, pillage, and kill us all. That's kind of where the logic comes from, immediately, as far as, like, I guess evolutionarily speaking, and it's kind of interesting to think about how, like, oh yeah, that kind of retains its character to this day. When we need to feel like we're, close to someone, we can just be like, hey, you do a thing, I do a thing. What minor thing do we do different? Let's discuss why and, how that is, because almost everyone has a good reason for their slight preferences. Like, I know, to take a tiny thing, I love flying, and, when I talk flying with someone, I'm like, so, would you rather take an overnight flight, or would you rather take the day flight? Overnight flight, you sleep more, so it's technically faster, but then you go to your destination and you're destroyed, whereas the day flight, it's a really long flight because you're awake the whole time, and, you can nap if you really try, but no one besides me ever does that, and it's like, oh yeah, but you get to your destination, and after that first night where you're a bit tired because your day's really long, you go to sleep, and it's really great. I love that, like, minor preference difference, and the logic and the reasons behind what is ultimately an almost arbitrary decision. The discussion around that, the growth in knowledge, the amount where you'll grow as people is kind of cool. One of the things I've always liked about Android over iPhone, again, I'm not the tribalistic guy who's like, oh, it's better. I think you could even make a good argument that iPhone is better, the iOS, ecosystem is better than Android, because people see it as better, and therefore, there's some element of, like, people buy iPhones because they love that, feeling, and you can't get that feeling with the nicest Android. So you can make an argument that way. I'm not trying to say that like, oh, iOS is so bad, but what I love about the Android ecosystem is if someone does have an Android phone, and the majority of people do, knowing which one they have is so interesting. Like, oh yeah, I went for the OnePlus flagship last year. Like before that, I was Samsung, but then, my phone was stolen, and I was like, can't be buying another $1,000 phone. I love this preference game that we can discuss of anything, and I think the fact that it can go down to the most minute thing as to like, oh yeah, which button do you use for pick block? Because I think mine, I think I could use some improvements of mine, or I'd love to at least discuss yours, tell you mine. We'll make a little thing there. That's why, like, what is your favorite food, for instance? It's such a lame question because it's overdone, but also it's like, oh yeah, we can work out maybe what the heck's going on with, your favorite culinary taste. We all have the same taste buds, but our brains register things very slightly differently, and that's why some people prefer pizza, some people don't like pizza. It's insane to me, but it's true, and that just to me proves a real point here. But with that said, let's move into the next thing, which is from Thomas Miller, who just says salt, and yeah, I agree. This is the best comment actually we've received all the way through this video, because you know what I really like? I like putting salt on things. I like putting salt on chips. I like putting salt on anything that you cook. One of the big mistakes that I think people make is like, okay, I'm cooking at home and I'm gonna try and make restaurant quality food, but it never goes quite as good. And you know the reason it's not quite as good is because you know how much salt's going in there, you know how unhealthy it is, you know how much oil's going in there, pepper, etc. One of the things that I believe this is a Gordon Ramsay quote, is just like, hey, you know what you gotta do? You've gotta just be like, hey, if I wanna make restaurant quality food, I wanna make the best food, smother it in, olive oil, smother it in, oil, smother it in salt, just keep on throwing those things on there, and on it, probably smothering oil eventually goes bad, but the other two things, like, you need a lot of that stuff to replicate that same amazing quality food in a restaurant. Because, most restaurants don't have to give you calorie numbers, they don't have to show you how much oil and salt they're using. If they did, it might hurt their business, but that's one of the things that you need to do to really improve your game. And yeah, this is a preference-based question. Isn't that fun to link this all together? So with that said, the next escalation of this whole and concept is Super Jedi Player's question, which was a whole 2 weeks ago, and they say, next video, I try to avoid every question. And you know what the crazy thing about this comment is? This comment right here from Super Jedi Player predicted the future. Maybe this whole Q&A came from his comment, or maybe this comment predicted the whole Q&A. One of the cool things about the world is causation is a thing that a lot of people get the wrong way around. Like, oh yeah, A happened and B happened, so A caused B. Maybe B caused A. You don't know for sure. And, maybe this whole Q&A was just a big stunt. Maybe it's a ploy to get views with that very clickbaity and title. Maybe this whole video is just a way to say, hey, the Q&As, I don't really like them too much. I don't think they provide as much value outside of update season, so I'm going to do them less frequently. I think that especially in a time like right now where people are enjoying so much of the other things they put out that I love to make, I love to come up with the ideas with, and people are loving the content I'm making, I think that the Q&A has its place, and I'd love to bring it back, especially when there is a big confusing situation. But I think that the Q&As, it's fine for Q&A Saturday to take a little bit of a rest. I think Seed Sunday took a big rest, and then when it came back bigger, stronger, harder, faster, and I think the Q&A Saturday might have to do the same thing. I think there's a reason that we went reductio ad absurdum on this, this whole concept, and it's to show that, like, yeah, honestly, Q&As have this really cool thing to them, and they also have something that, people don't like. There's a reason that Q&As are some of the most variant videos in this channel, and I think that's because they're not consistently loved, and I'd rather make something that my subscribers do like. And obviously, my subscribers is a very general term because, like I said earlier, on YouTube, you live in this constant state where you're trying to appeal to your own subscribers the best you can, and, that means that I am obviously not only interested in terms of, like, oh yeah, it'd be kind of fun, but also in terms of literally, like financially and otherwise. And if I'm having more fun and if I'm financially incentivized, to not do something, then that's why I think it makes sense to do so. So there's the full explanation. I could have just said Q&A is going away for a while, but I like this whole descent into insanity that we went through instead. I hope you all did enjoy this video. Let me know if you spotted that at 6 minutes and 53 seconds, there was a picture of the cave update on screen for a split second. That's right, I'm using this for subliminal messaging. You might think this was a heartfelt message about what the point of the Q&As are and the fact that they're going away. No, this was all cave update propaganda. Hashtag make 1.15 the cave update. Hashtag hit that bell because then you might see some of my future videos on your homepage. And that's a fact that I don't have to subliminally advertise because it's going to be on screen right now, and on screen right now, and on screen right now, and on screen right now. And thank you very much for watching, because I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.